City, how's it going? Oh my God, it is so good to be back in New York. I lived here for 6 years, and then I moved away. And did you guys know you can do that? There's other cities you can live in. And in some of them, they let you control the temperature of your own apartment. Did you guys know that? You decide. You just punch a button. You don't have to wait for a guy you've never met to finally turn the radiator on so you can be too hot all winter. It's great. There's whole cities where your landlord is a person and not a feral cat. Did you guys know that? It's insane. My landlord here was Lenny. He was an orange tabby. And he only had one eye. I'm not positive he was my landlord, but I was scared of him, so I just put money in his bowl once a month. But here's the thing, I'm talking shit. I keep coming back. That's the thing about New York City. You can't ever really leave. Because really, living in New York City is like being in an abusive relationship. That's really what it is. You just it just beats the shit out of you. And then finally one day you're like, you know what? I've had enough of this New York City. I deserve better. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. And then New York City puts Molly in your beer and sucks your dick in a cab. And you're like, greatest city on earth! I'll never leave! And New York's like, that's right, bitch. Tell him I'm the best, or I'll put more dead rats in your wall. It's like, okay! You're the best! It's good to see everybody drinking. I don't drink anymore, and I perform in bars, and I feel like R. Kelly performing at prom. It's, my mind's telling me no. People always want to know why you quit drinking. I got several reasons, I guess. First reason is I don't want to find out the answer to the question, how many times can you pee on a woman before she'll no longer marry you? And so far the answer is not 2. That's probably 3, right? 3 strikes, you're out. Now, I also love driving drunk. That's another one of my problems. And I want to be clear about what I just said. I mean, it's not I'm willing to or in a pinch. I look forward to it. Very pumped up to do it. It's very fun to me. And I'll drive any car, too. My car, your car, I don't give a shit. I was telling my friend about this. He was like, what about Uber? They have Uber now. And I was like, yeah, I'll fucking drive one of those, too. What do I do? Download an app and a car comes to me. This rules. Get out, nerd. I'm driving. I got better music. Let's go. So, you know, I got a DUI, and here's the thing, though. I got my DUI at a DUI checkpoint. I hate that. I think that's bad sportsmanship. I know. It's like, you couldn't catch me out in the wild, could you? You had to set a trap. Luckily, I got my DUI in Wisconsin. If you're gonna get a DUI, do it there. They super chill about it. They don't even take your license. It's like, are you gonna take my license? They were like, no. How would you get to the bar? People want to know how you quit drinking. That's what everyone asks me. What's your secret? How'd you quit? What'd you do? And I can only tell you what I did, which is cocaine. Because you gotta get to the bottom. You know what I mean? You can't quit fucking around. You can drink too much for decades. You start doing cocaine, you're gonna come outside in about 6 months blinking into the sun just like, I think I need to change some things. It doesn't feel sustainable. I never thought I was gonna get into cocaine. I was surprised. It was a good Christian boy. I was like, no sir, no hard drugs for me. No way, never. And then I tried cocaine and I was like, I think I was wrong about cocaine. This is pretty sweet. You telling me I can believe in myself for $50? Okay. People think drugs are expensive. I think they're too cheap. I shouldn't be able to meet God for $50. There should be more standing between me and my maker than $50. But okay. I was talking to my therapist about the cocaine thing, trying to figure out how it happened. And here's what we figured out. I grew up playing basketball very seriously. That's all I cared about as a kid. A very serious basketball player. And here's what they don't tell you when you're a kid playing sports, is one day it is going to end. And you should probably have just anything else you enjoy doing. Because you're about to have a bunch of free time and a very intense spirit. And if you don't have anywhere productive to put it, it's going to get weird. I couldn't win basketball games anymore, so I started trying to win parties. And I'm not sure if you ever tried to win a party, but it's the only way to lose a party. That is the one way to do that. There's no shot clock. Slow down. Because here's the thing, you unlock an intensity inside yourself as an athlete that has no practical purpose in regular life. But it doesn't just go away. I remember in high school, I got a rebound one time, and there was a kid's head right here, and so I just instinctually squeezed his head against my body, and then pivoted like this. And I felt his neck crack. He started crying. He had to leave the game. He went to the hospital, and I felt good about it. I felt good. I didn't apologize at all. I was just a half court like, that's what happens if you come in my paint! And so that's who I am now. And nobody wants that level of intensity from a 35-year-old man who looks like he just stormed the Capitol, No one wants me at the bank like, who's ready to make a deposit? Let's go! Dude, you gotta calm down. I just called the police. The only people who like that level of intensity in adult life, cocaine people. Very pumped up. I'm like, who wants a chest bump? They're like, me, I like all kinds of bumps. I'm like, hell yeah. That's my tribe. And you guys can relax. I don't do cocaine anymore unless you have some. And talk to a therapist now, so I'm doing much better. Thank you. I think everybody should talk to a therapist. I really believe that. And especially men. We got to talk to therapists. But you got to give us some time. There's a lot of pressure right now. There's a lot of men will literally buy a motorcycle instead of going to therapy. It's like, can you give me a minute? I was raised in the 90s and early 2000s. I was told reading books is gay. It's going to take a second to get to talking about my emotions. Now I go to therapy. I got diagnosed, actually. I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder 2, which is dope. I caught the sequel. And you always want the second version of a thing. You got to let them work out all the bugs. That was a weird diagnosis. I thought being diagnosed was going to be more helpful than that. Help me identify what causes my anxiety, what are my triggers. I was like, Doc, what do you think's making me so anxious? He was like, generalized? Does that help? Seems being alive really puts you on edge. I was like, tight, dude. Appreciate that. We found out because I have panic attacks. I was telling him about it. And so sometimes in big moments in my life, like a basketball game or like a comedy taping, I'll get real nervous. And my throat will get real tight and my mouth will get dry and I'll have a stutter that wasn't there before and my hands will get clammy. And I hate it when that happens. I told my therapist I feel like a pussy when that happens. And I know that pussy is an archaic way of saying weak because it suggests that vaginas are weak when really they're strong and giving of life. And my girl made me add that to the joke. But point is, I said I feel like a pussy. And that happens. And I don't know if you've been to therapy before, but a lot of times what will happen is your therapist will take negative words that you use about yourself and start using them at you so that you learn that you don't like to be talked to that way. So for me, therapy's become an hour of a 65-year-old Jewish man calling me a pussy until I give him $100, which feels like something a pussy would do. I don't know if it's working feel like I should beat him up and take his money. I don't need therapy anymore. Basically, generalized anxiety disorder, what that means is that my brain is a bad detective. That's how I would describe it. I have a very confident bad cop living in my head. And he looks at all the correct evidence and then just makes the wildly wrong conclusion. So he comes in, he's like, all right, let's take a look at this case. What do we have here? Interesting. It appears when you enter a room, people tend to react warmly. Okay, they're often smiling. They say nice things about you personally and professionally. Not to mention, there's always an outpouring of support when times get tough. Open and shut case here, everybody hates you. Everybody hates you. Everybody hates you, and it's the only thing they talk about when you're not around. I know, it's crazy. They actually meet up at coffee shops and talk about what a piece of shit you are. And the only way to make them stop would be if you message each of them individually on Facebook. Preferably at 3 in the morning so they know you're serious. And apologize for things that happened 15 years ago that only you remember. And I'm like, aye, detective. And so my buddy was asking me about therapy. He was like, what's it like? He's like, because he told me he had heard that therapy is like cleaning out your garage. It's like a big job. You shouldn't start till you're ready to see it through. Is that accurate? And I was like, I guess. I'd say it's more like this. It's more like you have a garage that you don't think is that dirty, and then people come over and they're like, hey, what the fuck's going on with this garage? And you're like, hey, what if you didn't just come to my house anymore? And they're like, that's kind of what we're talking about. And so you finally agree to clean the garage. So you go online, you find someone that specializes in your specific kind of garage. And then you pay them $100 a week to watch you clean your own garage. While they ask you very condescending questions. And you're like, what do you think this is? They're like, what do you think this is? I think this is highway robbery is what I think this is. And you don't even start cleaning the garage first. No. First, you got to go to that box you have buried in the corner of the garage. And you don't even know what's in there. You just know it's been there since you're a kid, and you don't want to know what's in there. And they're like, let's go ahead and pop that open. You're like, I don't even know your name. And they're like, nah, just do it. So you open the box, and you just fling the contents all over the garage. And then you spend one day a week putting exactly one item away, and the rest of the week hanging out in a now dirtier, scarier garage. So if that sounds fun, check out therapy. You guys have been great. Thank you so much.